This is Toon Talk Weekly, episode 242. This week, Brad and I visit a futuristic city of Detroit, and we watch an episode of the Disney XD series, Motorcity.
Cadet Chilton.
You're always sending your robots by unannounced, Dave. Maybe next time you could show up in the flesh. I'll fix the place up a bit for you. Or better yet, I could pay you a visit. Catch up on old times.
That's funny. That's really funny. Then why haven't you returned since you abandoned your post, Cadet? You ran away like a coward. That's why.
Listen, Kane, that's not...
You're hiding down here, driving around with your friends in your precious cars. But when the going gets tough, this coward will abandon you too. He's done it before, he'll do it again.
The day just keeps getting better. Boy. Let me them
I'm ready.
Man, where is that kid?
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday once again. That means it's time for another episode of the Weekly Cartoon Podcast, Toon Talk Weekly. That's, of course, this show. Thank you for joining us once again to chat cartoons this week. I'm Jake Williams. I'm not the only voice you're going to hear. Brought along my good friend, Brad Chmielewski. What's up, man?
What's up? How's it going?
It's going pretty well. How's your week been?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. No, not cartoon filled. I didn't watch any. None.
Just the one for this week. That's it.
Yeah, I'm like trying to think. Like, did I watch more of anything? And I did not.
Yeah. Dang, man. Yeah. I watched this episode of the series Motorcity, which we're going to talk about this week here in a moment. But I mentioned last week or maybe 2 weeks ago that we do have an episode planned with a guest, a friend of ours from Chicago who's really into a cartoon. I watched a ton of that cartoon because it was just bringing back so many memories.
Yeah.
So I kind of dove into it. But I can't talk about it yet because I want to save it for our discussion when we do that episode. But that was kind of my week in cartoons. But yeah, welcome in everybody. This is Toon Talk Weekly. Every single week, Brad and I, for the last 4 years, have been... I should stop just saying the year because I'm going to have to change it eventually, coming up on 5. Dive into a new cartoon, something different we haven't seen or something maybe we wanted to revisit from a while ago. So if there's ever a cartoon you want to check out or recommend to us, you can email us at toontalkweekly@gmail.com. And of course, check out toontalkweekly.com to see the list alphabetically on the side of the page there that has all the episodes we've done before recommending one. Not that we get overlapped that often, but just as a double check-in. You know?
Heads up. Yeah, we've already done Our Real Monster, so we're not doing that again. Sorry.
I love you picked probably the one that's on the top of the list.
I wasn't looking at the list.
I know.
I thought of that as...
No, I know. Look, we're not doing shirt tails, okay? Just get out here. Yeah, man. I also saw, before we get into the show here, too, I was just reading through Twitter before pre-show or whatever, and it looks like the creator of, I think that Danger and Eggs got that show, I think, didn't get picked up again or something like that. But
bummer.
You know, cartoons are like fun, happy things, and we like those stories and stuff. But it actually looks like it's for political reasons, and that kind of sucks. Like,
really, what happened?
This is all just hearsay, guys. So go look up any of that stuff. But it seems like when the gist I gathered was that when the creator signed on to do the show with Amazon, they said you have to take the politics out of like your Twitter feed. So she deleted a bunch of things. But now all this stuff about the NRA and whatever, like, current news stuff is coming out, and I guess Amazon somehow supports them, and they have like she's like, well, you clearly have political support, so why did I have to change my position to work with you guys? Like, it was kind of crappy. So it sounds like the show might be in a lurch, which sucks because we like that show a lot.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
We, of course, don't want to get super political here because that's not what this show is about. Everyone's entitled to their opinion wherever they are. I just saw that and kind of made me sad because it's sometimes really hard, and especially in the internet age, I think it's really hard to sometimes separate like the fictions that we like to create and enjoy with stories and cartoons and things like that with the real world, because we are all real people and have to live under the constructs of what we are doing and working with. So when you think of just like a cartoon, like I'm sure there's some weird politics behind SpongeBob, you know, like there's probably all kinds of stuff like that.
And I saw you recently tweeted something about Muppet Babies coming back.
I think I did say something about that. And now, you know what? I can't remember off the top of my head if that was a full series is coming back. But that would be awesome. Mainly because the still or whatever the post I saw, I'm totally like stalling because I'm trying to see what. Oh yes, looks like 2 back-to-back episodes, but there was a style change, or it looks almost like 3D.
Oh, neat.
Which is kind of interesting. Not quite. It's like close to, but it reminds me almost of the painterly 3D of that Peanuts film. But the funniest part is that they have like the textures on them, like they look like they're felt, like they would be actual Muppets. So that could be really cool if it's actually a 3D thing.
That's fun. Okay.
Yeah, looks like Friday, March 23rd, there is a back-to-back premiere of 2 episodes of Muppet Babies. So that's fun. Or it's called Muppet Babies Time to Play. Sounds like maybe that's what the subtitle might be.
Yeah.
So yeah, look for that on a future episode of Toon Talk Weekly because I'm sure we'll cover it. I think we did Muppet Babies here because we did the episode where Gonzo does a home movie.
Yeah.
Or they all make their own home movies or something. So, but let's get into this week's show. We have an episode of a series called Motorcity, one that I had never heard of. How about you, Brad?
No, I'd never heard of this either. So this is a Disney show, and I don't often watch the Disney Channel or know what's on the Disney Channel.
Yeah, and we've been doing this show for years now. I still am confused what Disney XD is versus Disney. I feel like I ask it every time. But Motorcity was a series in 2012 that aired on Disney XD. I was kind of going through the motions of sort of searching for what kind of show we'd like to talk to. Obviously, I live around the Detroit area now, so this name popped out at me. And when I realized it was a newer show, and I looked at some of the art, the artwork, dude, when I saw some of the characters, reminded me a lot of, forgetting the artist's name now, who does the Gorillas animated characters. Less dark, of course, but just in shape and like style, kind of reminded me of that. And so Motor City, turns out, is a series kind of based in a futuristic Detroit. It was created and directed by Chris Prynoski, produced at Titmouse, which famously has done a ton of cartoons that we love, and Disney Television Animations worked together on that. Ran from April of 2012 until January of 2013, 1 season, 20 episodes. I did read something that at one point a couple of years ago there was talks of reviving the series, but looks like obviously if that was just a hearsay a couple of years ago, then probably not happening. Okay. Or at least not anytime soon. Also, what can you expect from the series Motor City? The show occurs in a futuristic Detroit, and basically this evil billionaire named Abraham Kane, who's voiced by Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker. He does a lot of great voiceover work. He's so fun. He is an evil billionaire, and he's basically built on top of the old city of Detroit, a new city called Detroit Deluxe. Okay. In Detroit Deluxe, picture it's like just a clean white box with all this brand new technology. Like the people that live there are under heavy laws, and personal freedoms aren't allowed to be had. One of the main things you can't have is automobile transportation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, what kind of jerk comes into Detroit, the Motor City, builds a city on top of it and says you can't use cars? Abraham Kane, that's who.
We'll get into our episodes, but did the episode you watched, did you see the new Detroit?
Partially, but it wasn't like, you don't really spend time there. It was kind of floating above it in my episode.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it.
Oh, dang. Yeah, that's interesting. But there's one last obstacle for Kane, and that is a group of hot rod wielding rebels, as they go by, known as the Burners. These are kind of a group of people that live in the underground refuge, which is called Motor City now. I think they've kind of like dubbed Detroit, and the ruins underneath of it is now known as Motor City, and that's kind of where I keep wanting to say like the greasers live, right? Like the mechanics, the kind of refugees kind of live down under there.
Right.
2 parallels I drew to this were there's an episode of Futurama where they go into like underneath New York City.
Right.
And it reminded
old New York. Yeah. Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of that kind of vibe. And also, if anybody's familiar with the RPG game Final Fantasy VII, there's an old city. There's like a city called Midgar, and they build up all these reactors. And it's not necessarily that something on top of it, but basically that people have to live in the slums underneath this giant dish that's powering things all over the world. And so that's kind of what this reminded me of. So the main characters, of course, Abraham Kane, the main villain, and then you've got the Burners, who feature a handful of characters. The most notable one is probably Mike Chilton. He's the main leader of the group. We have Julie Kane, who also is in the group, but she's Abraham Kane's daughter. Mm-hmm. So she, her dad is the evil billionaire, but she also is trying to help take him down. It's kind of funny. And we also have Chuck, Dutch, Texas, and there's a couple others that I didn't come across in this episode, so I guess we won't bring them up.
Those are the main 5 Burners. Yeah. So there always seems to be 5 in a crew in I don't know if it's is it just a classic thing from Voltron days that you have to have 5? What's the standard of 5?
Well, I mean, Turtles only had 4, but I know what you mean. 5 seems to... You have a leader and then 4 others.
Yeah. Well, if you count Splinter, they had 5, right?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, if you count Pizza, they had 6. No, yeah. It's kind of interesting because it's is that the easiest way to break down personality types to cover a wide base? Mm-hmm. You've got the nerdy tech guy who works on the cars, and then you've got the leader, and then you've got the jokester, that kind of thing. I wonder what that is. Of course, you could also have G.I. Joe and just have 40.
Yeah, that's true.
Or however many. So, yeah, man. So the style of the show drew me to it. However, I will say, guys, finding shows online, obviously we don't profit off the show. We never intend to. But I like to show you guys clips and audio files to be able to kind of get the experience of listening to the cartoon along with us to kind of amplify what we're talking about. Man, is... stuff from Disney XD, if it's not brand new or super old, crazy hard to find.
Yeah, so all these episodes you can buy them on iTunes. That's it.
That's it. It's funny, on the Google Play Store, which is the other popular, online marketplace, it just says not available, but all the links are there for the episodes. So maybe they had a deal, now they don't. There are other ways to find crap out there, but of course you're never going to get good quality, so that stuff sucks to show you guys. To actually share that stuff with you. So, yeah, man, it was just so annoying, actually. This was the first hardest week. It's if it's ancient or older, someone somewhere has a fan page, and they share them all.
This was harder than Shirt Tales when you had to order the DVD.
Okay, I guess that's the hardest it could possibly be, right? I had to order a whole season. But I just kept not being able to find the file I needed to just be able to watch this cartoon that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting, and I don't buy a ton of stuff on iTunes anyway because I hate DRM stuff. I like being able to share stuff with I saw this episode. I wish I could send it to Brad without buying him a copy or sending another copy. So anyway, that's my rant on finding old Disney XD stuff. Disney, just make a service, make me pay $5 for it, and have everything always, but only advertise your new stuff because obviously that's what you want to get kids to watch your TV channel. So,
So it's $2.99 for the HD version and then $1.99 for the SD.
Yeah, or you can get the whole season for $20. I will say, I didn't realize this. It does knock off the price if you've bought an episode. So thankfully, you're not paying extra if you buy one and then realize you like it and then want the whole season.
Yeah, I went with the HD version, and it seemed like extra wide, like a 2K kind of HD. It didn't seem like a 1920. It was bigger.
Yeah, I wondered if it was that, or I also wondered if it was an aspect ratio thing. It definitely felt really crisp. So as much as we're complaining about finding it, the quality was really good on iTunes. So it's what can I really say? So Brad, why don't we talk about, I think we each chose a different episode. I only got around to one episode of this show this week, so I don't know a ton about the series aside from what I described before, but what did you watch this week?
Yeah, so I only watched one, too, because I wasn't going to pay for multiple episodes. To be honest, no matter how much I thought this show was going to be great, or if I even thought it was going to be terrible, I was only going to pay for one, and then we just see from there. There's too much other stuff, right, to watch for me to be I'm just going to throw down $20 for this show I had never heard of. I watched an episode called The Duke of Detroit. And not knowing much about the show, the Motorcity backstory and everything, even though it's called Motorcity, I didn't even it didn't register with me that it was in Detroit. And I was like, oh, Jake, you got to watch this Duke of Detroit one, right? Because you're outside of Detroit. This makes the most sense for you. But then you were like, no, it's all in Detroit.
Nice.
But this episode, was kind of interesting and why I asked about the new Detroit, because I never saw this, but it kind of starts with them being chased by basically like flying robots, and they're going through the streets and I don't know, just blowing stuff up and everything. And I thought this was new Detroit because their cars are like super crazy and fast and have all these I don't know, weapons and everything, and they're like flying off expressways and things like that. So like, oh, this must be new Detroit, because they also go basically almost like it looked like through something, and now they're in like a junkyard that felt like, oh, this is old Detroit. Like it was just like a car junkyard graveyard everywhere. Now they're like racing through and they have to like blow these robots up. So I was like, oh, okay, well, now I understand. This is old Detroit. Up there is new Detroit, where everyone zips around.
Yeah.
Because there's also like restaurants and stuff in the like, I guess, middle level.
Yeah. So I guess that's just still what I'm not understanding. I thought Motorcity was old Detroit, like real Detroit today. And like it's just kind of like a slum / technological, like it's just everything under the city, so it's dark down there. But you're right, where there are moments where there's like freeways and large towers. Not that they seem like a city, but it seems like they're underneath something big or something.
Right. Yeah. But they run into this guy called the Duke of Detroit, and he rebuilds cars, but he makes them as all stretch limos. So they're all like super crazy log and everything. It's pretty funny. He gets mad at the burners for like blowing up some of his like cars that he was going to fix in this graveyard, and they're like, those are just junk. He's like, you see them as junk. To me, they're good treasures.
They're limos.
So he's like, oh, you have to pay your respects, you know, kiss me on my shoe. And then Mike's like, no. And like, we're out. So he gets mad, and he basically sends like all the bad guys after the burners to like basically get them. We're going to kidnap them and prove that, you know, don't mess with the Duke. And yeah, that's what happens. He ends up like, there's like lots of fight race scenes. The Duke has to come out in one of his like stretch limo cars to fight them and chase them. It shoots, like everyone has like weapons and stuff. They're all like usually lasers, but the Duke's limo shoots limos.
What?
He has just this like giant limo, and it shoots other limos that his henchmen are in, because after they land, then the doors open and the henchmen come out. They're just
God. I never wanted a limo that shoots limos before.
I know, right? In the end, yeah, you know, Mike saves his friends, and the Duke's like, I respect you, Mike. And that's it.
So crazy. So this episode didn't even have Abraham Kane, the billionaire, at all.
No, yeah.
Interesting. So at the beginning of your episode, did you at least get the beginning where they talk about what old Detroit is and what new Detroit is, or no? They just dove into it?
They're being chased by robots.
Dang.
And they have to deliver a part to some guy, because that's what they often do. They like make custom parts for people.
Yeah. Crazy, man. I was worried a little bit about this show that the premise sounded like every episode was going to kind of be tied together, or like you needed to know what happened 4 episodes ago to like have a context for a conversation later or something like that. But it sounds like you got an episode that was indirectly related to, it's like, well, this is just what their life is like right now, but it's not against the main villain.
Right, yeah. They mentioned Kane. I think at one point the Duke was like, I'm gonna reach out to, his name starts with K and rhymes with pain. And I was like, oh, all right, I don't know who that is, but
yeah,
it sounds like they don't like him.
There is quite a bit of, for as dystopian as it is down in Motor City, there's quite a bit of comedy with the group. Yeah. They definitely have fun with each other.
Wow, and Tex is like the jokester. I think he's voiced by the guy who he's in Hercules, right? Is he Putty from Seinfeld?
Oh, maybe. He reminds me of, I think it's the same voice as Joe from Family Guy, the guy in the wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I always think of. I'm pretty sure we are.
Which could be Putty from Seinfeld. I'll look it up here.
Okay.
But.
Taking a stand on our own turf is one thing. Marching right up into enemy territory is another.
Look, I can handle anything Kane throws at us.
Oh, yeah? What if he throws a brick at you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, how about a box of scorpions?
Tex...
What if he throws up on you? I would totally throw up on him if he threw up on me. And I would totally throw up stronger and better. Check out my muscular throat and neck.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about his army of killer robots.
Yeah, man. Not only that, he's bound to have defense grids, bodyguards, and every type of laser ever made, all pointed at us. How you gonna handle that?
Yeah, so I watched the very first episode because I was worried I wouldn't get what was going on. So that's why I had a little bit better idea of the premise of the whole new Detroit on top of old Detroit kind of thing. This episode was actually called Battle for Motorcity. So it's really just starting the series and what the idea of this is about. And really it starts with kind of a similar thing where at some point there's a giant golem or there's somebody that's able to get to the gate of Motor City and they're going to come down and attack. And so the burners assume that it's Kane sending down this robot and they're going to go try to stop it. They end up like figuring out whatever first problem is. They figure that out. And then there's a moment where basically Mike is hell-bent on getting to Kane personally. Like he really wants to stop him and I don't know, beat him up. No, I don't know. Like take him down. And so then it's announced that Kane is going to be at this big public event. So the burners think this is their moment, and they basically strap this like giant gun. They hide it in some kind of crazy technology gun inside of Mike's car, and they show up at this event. And Kane seems to be there, but it's actually a hologram. And so they're actually up in New Detroit. And what I said earlier about them like floating is that they end up getting imprisoned in these like floating white cells. Basically, Kane has now tricked them and trapped them, and he's going to send these giant robot golems down to Motor City to destroy everything because now the burners are out of the way. The technology kind of angle is pretty cool. It actually looked like these giant golem things were 3D because he's like, well, how are they going to fit down there? Well, they can actually turn into a ton of like tiny little pixel drone versions of that, go down into Motor City, and then reform as the giant golem. It's like super kind of crazy. Meanwhile, you have his daughter, Kane's daughter, kind of helping the burners from the tower. I guess Kane has this like really dumb, like seeming nephew or something that works for him. So he's like evil billionaire running this big city, trying to like destroy all these people, but his dumb like henchman works there and totally just gives his daughter the passcodes so that she can unlock the cells. Like gives Julie the passcodes so that like, okay.
Weird, okay.
Then there is quite a bit of action in this episode. I'm sure it was similar to yours where it's like all this crazy action between car racing, rock music.
Mikey, look out! This is a ridiculous amount of lasers!
We can't keep this up.
Calculating probability of survival is 0%!
We'll see about that. That's it. Everybody pick a robot and drive straight at it.
Also, Mike has, to control his car, he has this like special skull thing. But at times he can like take this, it acts as the shifter when he's in the car.
Okay.
But then he can like take it off and it becomes almost like he's Gambit and he has like a pole that he like spins around and stuff. It's like a weapon too.
Okay, I saw him fighting with that at one point and I didn't know what it was. I was like, oh, he must have stole it from this hockey dude.
He just ripped someone's skull out, no big deal. Yeah. So, you know, they go take care of the golems down underneath. You did mention there's restaurants. There is like a bar that they eat at. Like a little diner kind of place. It seems like this episode just sets the stage for what Motor City is, the battle between the burners and Kane. There is some foreshadowing for, basically it sounds like at one point Mike was the next in command under Kane. Like he was working for him, but then realized what Kane was doing and decided to leave. So now Kane has this grudge against him that says like, you know, you were my best project, you were going to be my prototype, and you like threw it all away basically. So there is some personal bad blood there, it seems. But yeah, man, pretty cool looking show. What do you think of it overall?
Yeah, I like that the style is awesome. All the shots are really cool. There's a lot of like low angle shots to kind of get that idea of like their legs being kind of weird. So because everything's like sharp, which makes sense because it's like metal and urban-esque. So everything's sharp and has these hard edges, but you get these cool shots that are just like shows how lanky the characters are.
Mm-hmm. Do you notice any close-up of hands that the knuckles look like they're little staples, like almost like?
Oh, I didn't catch that, but
it's kind of a funny way to draw hands. But yeah, a lot of stuff was squared off. I mentioned, I think it's the characters. I know Mike for sure, and I think it's Chuck that I'm thinking of, the guy that would ride shotgun with him sometimes. They seem to remind me more of the Gorillaz characters. I don't know if it was like the long bangs or the face shapes or what was it about it. It was the eye shapes or something like that. But the art definitely drew me to it. And then there's also, on top of all the cool like car stuff, there's all this like crazy glow and stuff to make it feel like this futuristic dystopian like looking stuff. So
yeah, it's kind of hard to see sometimes because everything's like flashing, and then you're like, those like sparks coming off the car, are they the like fire coming out of it? Is it the lasers? Is it just the shininess? Because in the Duke of Detroit one, there was lots of sparkles because the Duke, you know, he was flashy, so like everything in his like mansion and on him just like sparkled.
It's like somebody overused Star Glow. There's like
kind of, yeah. So looking at the voices here, or you were talking about your episode. So your boy Jim Cummings is a voice on this show.
Nice.
He does Dr. Hudson, which I didn't meet.
Yeah, I don't think that was in my episode either.
But Tex is not a putty from Seinfeld. He's actually the voice of Wacko in Animaniacs, and then he does Crash Bandicoot.
Nice. Okay.
So you should have picked that off like instantly.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and listen to it now. And it's funny because around when New York Comic Con was, I can't remember when that was last year, the three Animaniacs actors were together on a couch like doing the voices, and I thought it was the most bizarre thing, seeing like picturing a character but seeing the person.
Mm-hmm. So this guy, what's his name, Jess Harnell. He's also the voice of America's Funniest Home Videos right now. The announcer. He's been the announcer since 1998.
Really? That's. I mean, he probably just records it in his closet, sends it off. Like, here you go. That's funny, man. Well, now we know. We both thought it sounded so much like someone else,
right?
And it totally wasn't. So, cool, man. Yeah, it was a cool show. I love the premise, but again, I think I'm kind of in the same boat. And this coming from a guy who bought Shirt Tales on DVD. I'm not looking for like a brand new show right now because I already don't catch enough.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of how I feel.
I don't know that I'll buy the season, but cool looking show, and the premise is really sweet. So I'm actually kind of sad it didn't get picked up, but man, it just seems like I don't know what the decision goes into studios these days picking stuff, but unless it catches fire, they don't want it. Is what it feels like.
Yeah, and this show, because there was so much action, I bet it's got to be expensive to make.
Right. Yeah, I could see that.
It just felt like the amount of animation felt like above and beyond something like Star versus the Forces of Evil. You know, just the detail and the amount of like stuff that goes into it. I don't know. I could be wrong there, but it felt like more work.
Oh, for sure. Well, considering they both had Disney and Titmouse involved, like two, higher caliber studios that you hear about TV production work, probably wasn't cheap. So, but yeah, we had fun with the show. If we got anything wrong, if you're a Motor City fan, it seems like there are lots of fans out there. So let us know, toontalkweekly@gmail.com, of episodes we should check out, because obviously this is kind of all that exists of it right now. But we've only watched one episode, so we tried to do it justice the best we could. But yeah. So yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode. Brad, let's get out of here. Where can people find out more about you?
So you can follow me on Twitter. It's @brad, and then my blog is digitalhitchhiker.com.
Great. You guys can follow me on Twitter @JacobWilliams. And of course, the show, we're on Twitter @Toon Talk Weekly, Facebook.com/Toon Talk Weekly. We're over on Google Plus as Toon Talk Weekly as well. I just mentioned our email, toontalkweekly@gmail.com is the place you can send in any messages. And finally, toontalkweekly.com, the main hub for the show. I got posts to every single episode we've ever done, plus our video version. If you want to head on over to YouTube with any of the posts for the episodes, you can hit that subscribe button, help promote the show, help support us as we kind of make this content. So, been another fun episode. It may be the special episode next week. We're still hammering out scheduling details. So if it is, great. If not, you'll get regular Jake and Brad, which is totally fine too.
Woo!
So that's going to do it for this week's episode of Toon Talk Weekly. We'll catch you guys next week for another cartoon.
Take care.
about the show, visit toontalkweekly.com or follow us on Twitter at Toon Talk Weekly.